How's it going, everybody? This weekend, taking a road trip out to get some parts for the RX-7. One of my viewers had gotten in contact with me and actually had said he'd had some of the wiring that I might need for the transmission where the wires are missing in my car. And after some emails back and forth, I found out that he has an entire parts car, well, some of a parts car that he has left. And so he actually had quite a few of the parts that I need, a lot of trim pieces and things, and quarter panels and all kinds of stuff. I'm actually on an 8-hour drive to go see him and try to get as many of the parts as I can to fit here in my Highlander. Once I get to his place, I think there may be some work removing the quarter panels. It may be worth doing a more detailed video on, and so that may end up being a separate video. But speaking of detailed videos, I did want to talk about the brakes, the videos that I've put out the last couple weeks, and I understand that they are not sexy content by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that those types of videos will hopefully be fewer and far between than more general build videos. But to me, those types of videos are going to cover things in more detail that may not be as readily available online. I mean, there are some forum threads that talk about the rebuilds of the brakes, but I couldn't find a whole lot of videos specific to the RX-7, so that's why you get some of the more detailed videos like that. So I understand that is 30 minutes of me taking apart the brakes and another 30 minutes of me putting it back. But the reality is that type of project, I mean, that does end up being several hours of work condensed down into the 30 minutes. So please don't think that all my videos are going to be that detailed. I'll try to cover the things that I can't find too much information on online to that level, but for the most part, I'll hopefully try to get my video links down to about 15 minutes, 12-15 minutes. So it is just as taxing on me to edit a video that's that long, and honestly, I fell asleep, I think, editing one of those videos at my computer. So I'm right there with you that it's not the most exciting content. So, but it is thorough, and if anybody's out there going to do a brake rebuild, they've got that video now to hopefully help them through that process. So just want to get that out of the way. I have probably at least another 4 hours before I actually get to where I'm going to pick up the car parts. Once I get there, like I said, I do think that we will be doing some body panel removal on the rear of the car. The car was kind of crushed, I think, on the roof, and the front, the hood, a tree or something fell, lengthwise on the car. So the back half of the car is in good shape. The interior was sort of there, but a lot of the parts have already been taken by other scavengers. And I mean, parts for the RX-7 are extremely hard to find right now. I mean, I've been striking out left and right trying to find just some of the more tiny pieces. And yes, I've scoured eBay and Craigslist and Facebook and Marketplace, and I know that you guys I've seen people post different connections that could help me out, and I've called my Mazda dealership, and so there's just certain things that it's just going to take me a while to acquire because I just am having a hard time finding seat rails, for example. I'd like to find a set of really passenger side OEM seat rails. I do plan on replacing the seats that are in the car currently. I'm not a big fan of those seats. They're flimsy. They do have a lot of give to them. I don't know realistically how safe they would be in a significant crash. They don't really slide back and forth easily on the rails. They pretty much fit, so they're so wide that it's hard to get the seatbelt around them. And I mean, I just not a big fan. I'd rather try to find OEM seats at this point. So that is something I'm working on. But I do know that if I'm lucky, I'll be able to find seats that have the rails. But at what I'm looking at right now, I would still need to find at least a passenger side, which in my car would be the driver's side, actually. So the right-hand side seat rail. I have maybe sourced a seat, but they're not going to have the rails for that. So you know, finding parts for the RX-7 are going to require trips like this, and so I say so a lot. I know that. I've been trying to work on that, but I am getting some larger pieces from this parts car, and that's why I'm actually driving out to get them and not just having them shipped. Partially because I wanted to see them in person. Some of the parts I wanted to see in person before I committed to buying to them. Anytime you're buying used parts, you know, they're not going to be perfect. They're going to have some issues. So, you know, before I spend this kind of money to acquire these parts, I want to make sure that I'm not buying something that is going to cost me even more money to replace or repair. So it's good for me to make these trips, but some of the larger pieces would have cost me a fortune to ship. So, you know, 1 tank of gas or 1.5 tanks of gas to get there, and then another, you know, so basically 3 tanks of gas probably to get there and back is going to be cheaper than the shipping that I would have had to have paid. So yeah, even though this was a little bit of a rambling video, if you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel. I hope to pick up the pace with the RX-7. Today, getting all these parts is going to give me a lot more projects to work on. A lot of this is going to be interior parts. I will have some exterior panels, but for the most part, there will be hopefully a little more ground to cover relatively quickly on the RX-7. I am trying to get the car back on the road so that I can get, I really would like to get it down to a dyno, and I know it's not going to put down great numbers, but I'd like to be able to say, you know, this is where we're at and this is where we're going. I've got the clutch work I still need to do. Probably I was thinking while I've got the car up on the lift, I may go ahead and pull the rear diff out, figure out why that's leaking, get that repaired, so at least it's one less oil leak I've got to worry about. I think the engine leak is going to be more involved than I thought originally, and that's probably when I go ahead and pull the engine and the trans out of the car, that'll probably be the time that all that gets taken care of, because it could be, you know, an easy fix or a temporary fix, but, you know, permanently I probably need to go ahead and get everything resealed and fix, you know, whatever it is. Appreciate you guys for sticking with me on some of this stuff. The videos have been very tedious, I know, and it's not what I want to do for everything on this channel, so please don't get discouraged by what you're seeing. But, you know, there will be videos like that when I find a topic that is worth covering in more detail, because, you know, these cars are going to be harder and harder and harder to find parts for. There's going to be a lot more situations where people are going to have to rebuild parts of their car, like I am finding with these brakes, rear brakes in particular. So that will be something that can be used, and it was worth doing. If I lost 50 subscribers in the process, then oh well. I mean, that was their decision. But anyway, all right, so 1,100 miles later, I'm finally back home. That was a pretty arduous trip, taking that trip in basically 30 hours. Got a little bit of rest in between, but I know in one of my previous clips while I was driving, I basically mentioned about doing some filming once we got to where the parts car was at. But once I got there, it was storming and dark and cloudy, and we had a lot of work ahead of us, so I actually didn't turn the camera on. So I'm gonna get all this stuff unloaded, and then I'm gonna show you guys what I got. So I'm gonna use the internal mic on the camera, so hopefully you can hear me okay. But like I mentioned in one of my last videos, one of my viewers named Ian had gotten in contact with me about a parts car that he had, and he said he probably was gonna have several of the parts that I was looking for after seeing some of my videos. So I did go meet up with him, and he had an RX-7 that had been, a tree had fallen over top the roof and kind of the driver's side fender area. So I'll have a picture of it. I'll put it up. I'll put it on the screen somewhere or whatever. But basically, the back half of the car was in okay shape. The roof was gone. Most of the interior was gone. The engine was already out. So he had actually pulled several parts for me. So I'll go ahead and show you some of the ones I got. So this isn't very exciting, but he did have both fender liners from that car, and they're not perfect. They are cut and torn in a few places, but I think they're the places that I need to cover some of the openings into the engine bay and in the rear of the fender. They're both that's all intact. So I got both of those, and then the clips that go with that. And then in this box I've got driver's side and passenger side mirrors,
One's black and one's Montego blue, but they're complete. They'll definitely need a little bit of, you know, body work and stuff before we ever paint them, but I did go ahead and get a set of those. I got a new rear view mirror because mine has the mirrors kind of turned white, and I think where there was the fire in the car, there's a good chance that there was, you know, maybe some of that heat had deformed the plastic. So I went ahead and gave me the mirror out of that car. And then I got all kinds of little, you know, plastic trim, screws, fasteners. These go on the fender, the OEM fenders, to seal off around the headlight, you know, where the hood closes down. I got the transmission wiring harness, at least the portion that was burned on my car. So I've got all the little clips, and really I can probably just replace this all the way back to wherever this was cut from, but at least I've got all the clips that I need now to go ahead and fix the transmission harness. Again, there's just lots of little clips and whatnots. Again, these are some more pieces that seal off around the hood by the fender. And anyway, lots of the supporting fasteners that go with the fender liners and some of the other stuff I got. So he also had a complete set of the trim that goes around the back glass in the hatch. Mine's really just missing this this bottom section. I think I've got at least I think I've got most of the sides. I definitely have the top piece, but I went ahead and got the whole set. But that's a good find because I was having a hard time finding these in good shape, you know, online or on eBay, Craigslist. But this will definitely be something I'll go ahead and get in the car, because right now mine's all exposed. The hatch light is just dangling. So anyway, I'll get all that installed, but I do have the full set, and maybe these are in better shapes than the ones I've got on my car. Out of everything I got, this is probably what I'm most excited about, because I don't like the seats that are in the car currently. They're kind of flimsy, they're hard to get in and out of. The adjuster doesn't really adjust very well. So I got these at an excellent price. What would be the passenger side for my car, so the left-hand side, is complete. It's got, you know, it's got all the plastics. It's got the rails. I mean, it's almost in excellent condition. I mean, the leather needs a little bit of treatment, but you know, all in all, it's in great shape. So it's got the buckle, everything. So this is complete. The right-hand side is really just the seat. I don't have the rail. I don't have the plastics. And you know, this where the seat belt threads through is this one's gray and that one's black, so I'll have to get those matched. But you know, all in all, this was you know, a really good find. And I think these come from a slightly, like, one might be a little, this one's probably newer. You know, the stitching looks just a slightly bit different, but you know, from a distance, I don't think anybody will ever notice that there's a slight difference between the two. So I have been trying to find the seat rail for this side, and it's been very, very, very difficult. I've looked eBay, Craigslist, everything I could find. Obviously I could do some posts on the RX-7 club and some things like that, but if anybody knows where I can get a right-hand seat adjuster, shoot me an email or post a comment down below and I'll get in touch with you. But that is something I am going to have a hard time finding, but I can't wait to find it so I can get these seats in the car. You know, I think they'll just need a little bit of a cleanup and they'll be good to go. And you might be asking yourself, why is every YouTuber that has an RX-7 putting the factory seats back in the car? And I think the short answer is they're good seats. They fit well because the cabin is very short, so there are seats that fit, and you have to have low profile rails and things to get them nice in there. But you know, these are good seats and they're very valuable, in good condition. So in my opinion, these will be better than the seats that are in the car. The last thing I got, and probably the most controversial thing that I've got, are the rear quarter panels. Now, they're not 100% complete because they did end up having to get cut off a little bit short at the bottoms because we were having a hell of a time getting these removed from the car. So my original plan was just to kind of zip around the edge, you know, basically where the factory panel meets up with the rest. But there's so many layers inside of the body of the RX-7 that pretty much no matter where you cut, you hit something else. So you know, you can just see all the different structure that's in there. So Ian, the guy that I met to get these parts, had suggested, you know, go ahead and take as much as we could get, just so that we had more than we needed. And you know, they're so anyway, with a Sawzall and some cutoff tools, we did finally get them removed from the car, but it was very, very, very difficult. We were both a little bit of a time crunch, so we didn't have a lot of time to figure it out, so we kind of had a brute force with the Sawzall. But we did make our way through, and the other side is not pretty by any means, but the parts that I need or would need are complete. One of these, I think it was this one, if you look on the inside, it definitely has some Bondo, you know, had some body work done on it before. But anyway, I got these for a really good price, and for now they're probably just going to get, I'll probably go and knock off some of the rough edges with a flap disc, and probably just set them in my basement for now, because really the body on the car is not something I'm really going to be focused on until the engine and the drivetrain's all squared away. But that is what I got. The you know, the parts that I need, which, you know, if you remember, my car just really has been cut up to where, you know, maybe 2 inches, 3 inches have been cut off. So I've got some work to do to figure out if I do want to do that. I've got some ideas on how to put it back to look OEM, but not actually, you know, maybe still have a little bit of a flare. So anyway, I definitely got those. That was a huge find, because I doubt I'd be able to find those just about anywhere else in good shape. So Ian, if you see this, thank you so much, man, because this was a pain in the ass to remove. I know it, and we were sweating to death, and it was late and all that good stuff. So I really appreciate you sticking with it and helping me get these cut off. But anyway, so that's what I got. I got all the fenders, fender liners, random pieces, seats, and the trim. So I'm not really sure what this will be part of a video for next week, or how this will all play together in my uploads. But you know, it was a long trip, but it was well worth it, because if I had to pay shipping on most of this stuff, that probably would have, I mean, it was essentially two and a half tanks of gas for me to go up there, get all this stuff, and then get back. So you know, that was surely cheaper than having any of this shipped. And then, you know, I needed to help at least as much as I could get, I didn't really plan very well when I had grabbed all the tools, because I brought body saws and things like that, and so I definitely wanted to make sure that these were something I wanted to take before Ian cut them off the car, because once he started cutting off the car, you know, it's a risk, because now, you know, who else is going to need these, or maybe somebody needs the whole back half of the car, who knows. Anyway, it was definitely worth taking the trip. If you like the content, please remember to subscribe, like, and any comment or feedback that you guys got down below. Like I said, I know I'll probably, what I'm having to do is purchase an entire right-hand drive seat. Maybe find a cheap one that's got black trim, that's cloth or something, because that's probably about the only way I'm going to be able to find all those parts, because I've already been looking for like 2 weeks to try to find the rails, and they're not available. So I'll probably be looking out for a cheap right-hand seat, so I can scavenge all the parts that I need off of it. But otherwise, some of this stuff is just going to go get put on the shelf for now. I'm going to finish up the brake project finally, hopefully. I'm trying to speed that up, and then we'll get on to something else. But, you know, I got to fix the clutch. I've got that wiring harness now for the transmission, so all that stuff's to come. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you next time.